The entire Mario franchise seems like it's never going to die. Although, looking at specific franchises, some of them have. Yeah, you're not as invincible as you think you are, Mr. Video. But what do I know? They could pull a Mario and Luigi and revive any one of these franchises I'm about to discuss. So before Nintendo announces Mario Teaches Typing 3 is currently in development, let's discuss some dead Mario franchises. Starting off with Mario and Sonic, the greatest crossover of the century. So great that it lasts for barely over a decade. This is because the International Olympic Committee didn't want to renew their partnership with Nintendo and Sega for Paris 2024. The committee instead found new partners in the form of esports and NFTs. Yippee! There does exist an official Paris 2024 mobile game. Ew. I know I shouldn't say it sucks cause two of my favorite franchises are not there anymore and instead we have some AI generated Mii ripoffs. Yeah, nah, AI generated Mii ripoffs would still look better than whatever those are. But yeah, this game sucks. I definitely am not one to say the Mario and Sonic franchise is amazing, but I have to admit I had a lot of fun memories playing them, even if it's basically just a minigame collection. Even without knowing that the Olympic Committee saw NFTs to be more valuable than Mario and Sonic, which really hurts my feelings. It was kinda clear the franchise was dying, because in 2018 there was no winter games, and newer titles just weren't selling that well. Maybe because the Wii games were better, or the Wii was just the perfect platform to release a minigame collection like this. But most likely, the novelty of a Mario and Sonic crossover had just worn out after so many games. I literally Ctrl F all Mario titles on the best selling Nintendo Switch games wiki, and what a surprise, Mario and Sonic Tokyo 2020 was on the best selling list at 88th place. Yeah, that just screwed up my argument, but if it means something, it is still the worst selling Mario game on Switch. You know, out of the 20 something games there are. So yeah, it's game over for Mario and Sonic, but let's hope this isn't the last crossover we see between them, excluding Smash Bros of course. And perhaps the next one will entail a much cooler concept. Yeah, it's probably just gonna be like some, I don't know, Mario and Sonic at the 2026 fish markets. Still better than Olympics Go, that's for sure. One franchise which did die, but not because of NFTs, was the Mario vs Donkey Kong franchise. Yes, the GBA remake did release at the start of 2024, but do you really think that's going to persuade Nintendo to release a brand new game? Aside from this, the last entries in the franchise were Tipping Stars in 2015 and Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge in 2016. Even though I hardly know any diehard fans of this franchise, there are 8 Mario vs DK games. Who kept greenlighting these? Like, they're fun and all, but not system sellers. Mario and Sonic may be the worst selling Mario game on Switch, but the Mario vs DK remake is not too far from achieving that title, albeit it does deserve some pity points because it was released at the end of the Switch lifecycle. This first Mario vs DK remake on the GBA happened to be a spiritual successor to DK94 on the Game Boy, which is a follow-up to Donkey Kong. The game added 97 stages on top of the 4 arcade stages, so this is either one very worthwhile remake or an entirely new game. Oh, by the way, according to the Mario wiki page, DK94 is not part of the franchise. Why? It has Plumber vs Monkey and plays very similar to the GBA game. Heck, after the GBA game, all other titles are the Mini Marios vs Donkey Kong, focusing on the puzzle aspect of the game rather than the platforming. I really should defend Mario vs DK and proudly say Nintendo must not kill this franchise, as the DS games are some of the first Mario games I'd ever played. But honestly, it's fine to keep this franchise on pause. There's already enough Mini Mario type games to chew on. That is, unless the next game is in the style of the GBA one. Then please, pump out another one, because there's only 2 games so far like that. Another dead franchise with Donkey Kong in it happens to be Mario Baseball. I might be stretching out the definition of a franchise just a teensy bit here, but Mario Baseball could have been as big as tennis and golf. Yet it fell into the same situation as Strikers, where we got 2 games, then nothing. It started off with Mario Superstar Baseball on the GameCube, and just 3 years later Mario Super Sluggers on the Wii. there is a baseball mode in Mario Sports Superstars. Out of baseball and strikers, Nintendo thought we'll give what the fans want, and Battle League happened 15 years after Strikers Charge. And yeah, be careful what you wish for. As much as I love Aces, the reception to Mario Golf Super Rush and Mario Tennis Aces wasn't too good either. So what are the odds that a new Mario Baseball releases and people don't hate on it? You can dream for a new game without the shallow content followed by free updates, but is that really going to happen? So perhaps there's a reason why Mario Baseball isn't on Switch, as Nintendo thinks it'll likely be another disappointment. But on the bright side, it does seem Nintendo is taking constructive feedback recently, as they did a survey asking what fans want out of a Mario RPG, and recent Mario games have just been bursting with creativity. So let's hope that someday, if a new Mario Baseball does come out, it lives up to the quality of its predecessors. Not only is Mario's baseball career over, but his involvement in the education industry is even deeper in the grave, by consequence of the Mario education titles. However, I do strongly believe there are tons of Mario fans who eagerly await for Mario Teaches Typing 3 to end off such a heartwarming trilogy. And Mario's Time Machine taught us how Benjamin Franklin is canonically a part of the Mario universe. And so are all these other important people throughout history, like Bowser's mother. Yeah, I don't need to tell you why they stopped making these. The wide-scale success of Donkey Kong Jr. Math led to stuff like Mario's Early Years and Mario's Missing, the first instance where Luigi had to save his brother before experiencing one too many spooky dookies. Mocking these games have unsurprisingly been done to death already, which is definitely why an educational Mario game isn't something Nintendo would ever do again. But to be honest, if I was a 90s kid who wanted to learn how to type faster than 11 words per minute, Mario Teaches Typing would be quite a fun way to do so, because you chuck this plumber's face on anything and it magically doesn't suck as much as it would've. Also, it is a bit confusing to know what game classifies as a part of the education franchise, because you could argue Mario Paint and Mario's Game Gallery are included. But first, there was an actual heart and soul put into Mario Paint, and Game Gallery feels like one of those old built-in computer games, serving as a harmless time passer rather than having the intention to educate you. One beloved Mario character who was smart enough to not get involved in the education field is Wario! Despite this, he still had to suffer through the tragic loss of the Wario Land franchise. I know, Mario's not in it, so why am I talking about it? Well, when else can I share my condolences for this franchise? I do enjoy the WarioWare games, but I've always been more interested in Wario Land. Probably because I've played less than half of these games. I don't even think me playing Wario World even counts, because it sure doesn't say Land in the title. WarioWare probably wasn't even the reason why the Land franchise was terminated, because these are two completely different genres. It's like if someone were to say that they stopped making 2D Mario games because Nintendo wanted to focus more on Mario Party. No, that's silly. It's likely because with so many 2D platformers like Mario, Donkey Kong, Kirby and Yoshi, the one who was least successful had to be erased. This might just be a coincidence, but Donkey Kong Country Returns, the first proper DK platformer since forever, released 2 years after Wario Land Shake It, the final entry to the Land series. And comparing the copies sold, you already know it's game over for Wario. Even if the critical reception to Shake It was decent, it still had no match against Returns. But it's kinda dumb to say DK replaced Wario because it's been since Tropical Freeze in 2014 where we got a new Donkey Kong Country game. At least with Tropical Freeze and now the Returns port, we know Nintendo hasn't completely forgotten about DK like they have with Wario Land. Heck, even Yoshi's facing a similar issue, as the last game, Crafted World, released at the start of 2019. Nintendo is just on a streak to put all their 2D side-scrollers which star a Mario character that ain't Mario into hiatus. Regardless, it does seem like a new DK and Yoshi game will inevitably release in the foreseeable future, as they sell fairly well, even if it ain't as ridiculous as Mario. For Wario on the other hand, Making micro minigames seems like the only option he has to pay his rent these days. Even with poor sales, WarioWare won't likely die out, as the franchise doesn't really have anything else to compete with. Maybe besides Rhythm Heaven, but they're made by the same team, and WarioWare's recent releases showed to be the more stable franchise anyway. That is all for now. If there were any dead Mario franchises I didn't talk about in this video which you wish I did mention, please let me know, and feel free to explain why any franchise I talked about is technically not dead. Hope you guys all enjoyed, and goodbye.